Oh, I get one more question. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Governor.
Something about this row right here. You know that? They put the question, folks, right there. Yes.
It's possible that you don't have long-range vision.
Could be.
Thank you for coming here. You spoke about a unified America. You've spoken about various aspects which are certainly contained in our Constitution. I'm asking you a question about the First Amendment. Freedom of speech, freedom of expression, freedom of assembly. This is an example of it because we feel free to speak and to assemble to meet you. Earlier, before you came into the room, a young lady passed around a piece of paper with a series of questions on it. I guess these were questions that were designed to prompt people to ask you about these important topics. There were people in this room, I assume associated as supporters of you, who seemed to regard this as toxic material, gathered up all of these cards, or as many as they could see, asked the lady, quite forcibly, to leave the room because she was not invited. I thought this was an open invitation. So I wonder if you would have a comment on that. I do have one copy left if you'd like to see it.
I'm happy to receive any question you've got. If you've got a question, go ahead and give it.
That was the question.
What's the question?
The question is, how do you feel about...
I'm happy to have people ask any question they'd like. That's why it's an open forum.
I'd like to answer this for him.
He's finishing the question.
We escorted a woman out.
I just answered the question. I'm happy to receive any question.
Oh, thank you.
What would you like me to ask? You want to read this?
I'd like you to respond to whether, is this something which is toxic to you and to your family?
There is nothing that's toxic to me. I was on Meet the Press yesterday, for Pete's sake. I had 2 months. Let me read the questions here for you. Questions from presidential candidates. The war in Iraq costs hundreds of millions of dollars every day. Over time, it will cost trillions of dollars, including hundreds of billions in interest. Well, first of all, in my opinion, that's just simply the wrong way to start something. It's cost American lives. These dollars don't compare to the American lives. And the right way this should be spoken about is the cost in blood, not the cost in dollars. That's what's key in this country, and people in this room are doing everything in their power to save lives of Americans. If you do not favor a rapid withdrawal of U.S. troops and military bases, how would you propose to pay for a long-term military presence in Iraq? Well, right now, even with the cost of the war in Iraq, the budget deficit last year is $161 billion, much smaller than it was when President Bush took office. And it's going to continue to decline. We're going to see us balance our budget within 4 years. But the big issue, by the way, is not just our annual deficit, but the huge over-promising of our entitlements, which when you add together with the budget deficit is over $60 trillion. But again, I don't get out of Iraq to save money. The reason I want to get our troops from Iraq is to save lives. But I don't want to get them out of Iraq in such a way that we end up having to pay for more lives in attacks on our economy and our country. If you favor an end to the war, will you have all troops out of Iraq by the end of 2009? What possible patriot would suggest we're going to take our troops out regardless of the consequences to our nation? If you really thought... If you really thought taking our troops out would mean that Al-Qaeda would end up dominating the Sunnis, have oil revenue and people revenue with which they could then launch attacks against us, we would be nuts to get out before that job had been done. The Bush administration's first use nuclear doctrine and its proposals for a new generation of nuclear weapons is one reason why other countries seem to believe they need nuclear weapons. Do you agree with former Secretaries of State Henry Kissinger and George Schultz that the United States should pursue the negotiated elimination of nuclear weapons worldwide? No, I don't. And I spoke with Henry Kissinger yesterday. We talked about a series of issues. I'll be really surprised if Henry Kissinger thinks that America should get rid of its nuclear weapons. And that's because there are always going to be people